Alright guys, so I'm Nicholas. I'm the founder of automationforgrowth.com and I've been helping clients with automations for around 6 years. And in this video, I'm going to explain one of the automations that I tend to encounter, that I've encountered multiple times with clients, okay? What's up guys? In this video, I want to explain the Instagram API. I wanna continue with the live videos. So I will just do like a use case here and then I will code with you live, and then that way you will learn the API, and if you wanna, and if this use case, if this project is useful for you, you could just, use it for yourself. So basically what I wanna do in this video is that I was thinking how to explain this API, and I think we have two ways of, like, we can create two use cases, right? I was thinking, one, we can have a bot that posts stuff to Instagram, and that's the one that I will explain this video. And then, maybe in another video, I will create one that is like reply to leads. Maybe someone contacts you on Instagram and you want to have like AI that is kind of replying to those leads. That would be pretty useful as well, right? But something that I've noticed is like a lot of people want to automate the part of posting on Instagram, and also I want to do it for my Instagram for shorts. So actually, this will be useful for me too. So what I'm thinking like a cool way of implementing this is like we will do it in Python. Usually I tend to do stuff with Google Apps Script in Google Sheets, but I think in this case will be useful if we do it with Python, because the automation is a little bit more complex, and then we need to, it needs to be robust enough, right? And the issue with Google Apps Script is that it only has 6 minutes, and then beyond that, like, you can only run a script for 6 minutes. Beyond that, it kind of like starts throwing timeout errors. So yeah, some of these videos might be too large or something, so it won't work. So let's stick to Python. So we will have this in Python, and the idea that I'm thinking is like maybe we can have this in a Docker. So it's pretty simple to like, we have the code in a Docker. Well, actually, I don't know. It's kind of like, let me write it again. We have this in Docker, and I think we could we can deploy this in Google Cloud. Okay. What I'm thinking is Google Cloud, because it's just like, it's the one that I use the most, but you can always do the same with like AWS, DigitalOcean. Like, it's the same thing. Like, you can always deploy a Docker in any of these clouds. So we have Python, right? So this will be like the middleware. And here we will have, I think, we need somewhere where we can store the videos, right? So I'm thinking maybe, you could do it in multiple ways. You could have like videos locally and then you post from there. Or you could have like a cloud. In this case, I will use Google Drive because it's pretty straightforward for you guys to understand. But you could always, switch this to like, you could change this to like be, I don't know, Google Storage or like AWS S3, for example, if you have the videos there, or any other cloud where you are storing your videos. Okay, but in this case, I was explaining with Drive so you can understand, right? And then we will have the Instagram API. And then, we're using the official API, okay? I know there are a bunch of platforms out there that you can like literally automate this part, but of course you gotta pay a subscription. So that's why I'm creating this video, right? So for people who are like, they wanna learn the API or they wanna do it themselves, you don't need to pay for a subscription. You can do it yourself. Okay, so we have the video here, and then it goes and we post it on IG. That's pretty much the idea here. And the cool thing is, like, if we're sticking to Google Cloud, we could have like a Google scheduler, and we can put it like, I don't know, run every day at midnight, let's say, right? So midnight, we run this and we post a video. And the logic is that, right? That you can always set up this to be, I don't know, maybe you're posting twice, 3 times per day. So you can always set up this scheduler to be like that. And again, we are going to do everything with codecs, okay? So, I mean, it's the same idea if you're using Google, if you're using code or whatever, like, it's the same thing. I just like coding with codecs. And we're using Python, right? So I already explained that. So let's do that. So basically, first we will start with setting up Google Drive, and we will just upload, just random videos there. And then once we have that, we will jump to IG, where we need to set up like the access tokens and all that stuff. And I will explain how to do it like in like I will say like the old school way, because right now I'm noticed that there are multiple ways of accessing this API. Like literally there are multiple ways of doing it. And I think the newest one is like you can just do the authentication with Instagram itself. You don't need to go through Business Manager, for example, in Facebook or any of that. It's just that I don't understand it really well. I just try, like I will explain it the way I do it, which is like old school way, and for me it works, right? So I think if for you guys works, that would be amazing as well, right? Yeah, so let's do it. Let's see. So first we will need to set up the environment. So let's do that. Yeah, so let's do that. So first, usually I use Visual Code, but I mean I will just create what I'm thinking is like, well, I need to create a project, right? So make it dear YouTube, then YouTube, let's go to YouTube, and here let's say make there this is IG, so let's just create IG, and then let's go to IG, and then here in IG I will just open these, right? So we have our project here, and something that I like having is something that is called an agents MD. I will just walk you through that. So this agents MD basically is something that you can use to give directions to codecs. I'm just trying to paste it here, but that didn't work. So let me see. Oh God. Let me see if I can just make it simpler here. I don't understand why it doesn't work. Weird. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you can see that basically this is just like a bunch of rules, and I tend to code with these rules. I learned it that way when I was at school. At school, it was called Norminet, so it's just a bunch of rules. Like for example, we don't go beyond 10 functions per file. Always stick to like each function doing each like an action. It's not doing multiple things in one function. We don't want to do like this spaghetti code and stuff. So usually that's why I have these. I will put it below in the description, so you guys, if you find it useful, you can use it, right? But okay, that's cool. So now let's just open codecs here, and I think we could start coding, right? So actually, I'm not sure if Yeah, I'm not sure if it's pointing to this folder, so I will just copy the path and I will just kind of like. All right, so basically, we will need a couple of things here, right? So we will have like a skeleton, and I tend to do that with every project that I have. So I will put it also like the files, but usually I tend to have like 3 files as a skeleton here. So usually just a deploy and a sh deploy that we could use with Google Cloud, right? So we don't want to do like this manually, like all these commands. So I usually just run this bash script and it kind of like uploads the image to Google Cloud. Then we have this Docker, just a skeleton. I have this just for a codec so he can reference this. And then we have like this skeleton of the main. You see, we're using Flask. That's the idea, all right? So I think with that we can start. I'll just point this to codec so he doesn't do something that is not copy path. All right, so let's see. I think for now we need to set up the API keys for Google Drive. I'm just thinking what would be the best way of, yeah, because we will set up the Google keys for actually, I was thinking, and I don't think we need the API keys for Google Drive. I think there are 2 ways of accessing Google Drive. One, slide through the API keys, and that's like the one that I always explain in all these videos, but I think there's another way that is simpler, and it's called using a service account. So basically you create a project in Google Cloud and then you download the service account, and with that you can access Drive. And I think I will explain that one in this case. It's simpler and it will do the same thing, and I think it's a good way of you guys learning another way of doing it. So for now we just so let's do the setup of this service account, okay? Okay, so what we can do is like we go to Google Cloud like that. Let me see, let me move myself here. And then you see here at the top says console, so you go there. Let me close this. This one. All right, so you see here at the top says console, you go to console. And then we need to create a project, right? So these are just some projects that I was testing with. So you click here in new project, and then we could give it a name. So this will be IG video, let's call it like that. And then create, okay? And then you just wait a little bit. This pop-up was just that I deleted a project before. So that's why it's saying like this project is going to be deleted. Are you sure? Blah, blah, blah. So you see you go created, so you select the project here. And then here we need to go to Google Drive. And you see we need the first API, right? So you click here in Google Drive API, and then you enable API, all right? And then while we wait, we could go to Google Drive itself. Let me see. And then here, I guess we can just create one folder for these videos, right? So we're testing, right? So this video tests. And I will put delete actually, because I always forget to delete these folders when I'm testing. Delete, whatever. Actually, I don't want to confuse you guys. I will just put it like that. And this is the folder, right? So again, we have 2 ways of accessing this. We could use the refresh token, meaning like accessing the APIs and all that stuff, or we could have a service account. So I will explain the service account way. So we are here, and this was enabled. So if you go to credentials, you see we should have, like, you see, we have two ways of doing this. We have like APIs. I mean, we have the API key, we have like the auth client, which is the to get a refresh token, and then we have a service account. So let me see if I can just create one here. So let me see if I can create one here. You can create a service account, and then we just name it something like that, and then let's say you click in create. What will be the permissions? You can put it owner and then continue. And then, like, for you to understand what a service account is, basically you can think of it like a user, right? So imagine you are creating like a user under your Google account, and this user has some permissions, right? So he can access some stuff like a normal user. So that's what we're doing here, right? So we are creating an account, and then we are giving the permissions. In this case, I just made it an owner, meaning like he connects everything as if he was the owner. But if you want to do like more strict permissions, you saw there were a bunch of permissions, so you could just, narrow down for only the permissions that you need. And then you click here in done. And then this is the service account, okay? So we need to download this and put it in the folder where we have all the files. So let's do that. So as I said, this is the service account that we need to be able to access Google Drive. But in order for us to download this, you need to click here, and then you see it says keys. So once you go to keys, you add a key, and then you click here and create a new key. I already have one because I was testing this. But for example, if I delete it, let me see. Well, actually, it kind of takes a little bit, but I mean, you just create a new key here, you select JSON, and then you click in create, and you will see that something gets downloaded here, and that's what we need to copy to our folder. So if we do that, let me just open it here. You see, this is the one that I have, so I will just copy that, and then I go to my folder. This is AG that I had, so I have a bunch of stuff here. And I will put it here in the folder I created, right? So we have agents, which is the one for our code, like the rules for our code. We have this deploy. This is a bash script that I will use at the end to deploy to Google Cloud. We have a Docker file, which is pretty much like a container for our project. I like using Docker, so that's why I have it here. Then we have this is just a dummy main.python just for codecs to understand how I want it to be, which is literally, I don't think I explained this before, but basically this main basically is using a Flask app, and then we have here a course. Basically that's in case we are interacting with a front end, we need a course so it doesn't throw us errors. Then I just added this health check endpoint. This is just to know that when I deploy to Google Cloud, it's actually working, right? So I will test with health, and it should just return this to 200. And then this is just literally a normal main, right? Using this 8080 port. And that's basically, so let me rename this to service account. So it kind of looks good. And then I was thinking to use codecs here, but I think it will be simpler if I use it from the app. I think that would be, oh my God, how do I hide this? I will just hide it like that. Well, anyways, I will just like ask codecs first if you actually can access that, and just I just want to know if the service account is working. This is working for Google Drive. Just test it out. Because I think what I also need though is that once I have that, this is the one that I have, right? So I guess we can just ask him. can you access this folder? Steer that. And then we need to create like some, some dummy videos so we can test. So if we can if your colleagues can access that, I will just ask him to, to create maybe, maybe 3 videos so we can test with the API. So let's see. Oh yeah. I forgot to mention this. So as I said before, we have 2 options to accessing stuff in Google, right? So we have the refresh token or we have the service accounts. When you are using the refresh token, you need like client ID, client secret, and then refresh token. And with that, you only need that, right? So you only with that you can access everything. You don't need to like share anything to anything. But like in this case, when you're using service accounts, a service account pretty much is like a user with access, right? So I think I explained it before that when you were creating these service accounts, like creating a new user under your account. So you can think of it like a user. Whatever you want to share with that service account, you gotta share it, like if the service account was a user. So what you do is like, for example, let's say you wanted to share this Google Drive to someone, you will go to share and then share here, right? So you do the same thing with the service account. It's just like you put it there. I don't need to notify anybody, and then you just share. And then the service account should have access. Let's see, try again. All right, so we can say hi. Look at this beautiful cat. All right, so basically right now it's working, right? So you can see here that it has access. So I will ask him just to, we need to test something. So create 3 videos and put them there like 3 seconds long. Random stuff. Let's see. I was just back and forth here with colleagues, and then the thing is like with service accounts, we cannot upload via videos because it's just like sharing. It's like sharing access to someone, but it's the service account only can only read, right? Cannot upload things. Just in this case, but like for example, if you had like a workspace where the service account has like some domain access, you will have more permissions. But in this case, it's super straightforward. It can only read data, so that's why Codex is telling me here that it cannot upload data and stuff. So I will just do it manually, which is pretty simple. I mean, he created the videos, which are these ones. So I will just upload them myself like that. Okay. And those are the videos that we will test with on Instagram. Yeah, so now this is finished. Now let's jump to the Instagram part. Okay, so here we are on Instagram, and then the thing with Instagram is that first, I would recommend that you create a business portfolio, which is pretty much creating a page on Facebook, and then once you have that page, you go here to businessfacebook.com, and then you can connect that as a business portfolio, you see, and then you can, within that business portfolio, you can connect accounts like the Facebook account, the Instagram account, and stuff like that. And with that, you can also access the stuff, and that's why like this is the way I do it. But I think it's simpler once you set up this. So what you do is like, for example, let's say you just created this. You go here to, let me see, where is it? You go here to, settings, yeah. Yeah, here in settings, you can add accounts, right? So for example, here you can add Instagram accounts, WhatsApp accounts, Thread accounts, pages. And that's what I mentioned. For example, this is the page that I have. And then for my Instagram account, I added this account. Pretty straightforward, right? And then you can add more things, right? And this is the same idea. Like, for example, if you added a WhatsApp account, technically you could also use this method to access WhatsApp. But I think WhatsApp is a little bit more straightforward, so we don't do it this way. But okay, so let's go back. And then the first thing that you need to do is creating an app, right? So here you are under developers.facebook.com, you create an app. So you go here, create an app. And then you get a name, I will put YouTube video. And then you select an email, right? So usually just auto defaults to the one that you have on Facebook. I will just put this one. It doesn't really matter, this is just a test, but you can put whatever email you want there. And then you go here to use cases, okay? So here in use cases, you have a bunch of stuff that you can select. As I mentioned, threads, for example, you can access pages. But the one that we need is Instagram, right? So we're testing with Instagram, so we need this one. Manage messaging and content on Instagram. So you click there, and then next, and then this is the business portfolio. And this is what I mentioned, that it will be nice if you can have a business portfolio before doing this. I mean, this is new, for example, like right now you don't need a business portfolio if you don't want to do this. I haven't tested this yet, so I'm not sure how will that work, to be honest with you. Because before, like some months before, you needed, like it was a must that you needed to have a business portfolio. So that's why I kind of learned this way. But like, if you don't have a business portfolio, you could go this way and see if it works, but I haven't tested that yet. But let's say you have a business portfolio, right? So you go here. I always use this one as a test. So next, and then next here. And then you create an app. Here under the app, once it's created, you will see here in use cases that we have the API that we selected, which is which is the Instagram API. And here, this is one of the ways that you could connect to Instagram in case you don't want to do it the way I will explain it here. So this way also works, which is like you already require the required permissions here, and then you add an account, which is the Instagram account that you have, and then you gotta set up like an Instagram business login, this one here. But I think this method works better if you're like, let's say you are managing accounts for clients, right? Like for example, let's say you are like a content manager person or something, and you kind of like doing automations with Instagram for clients, and you don't want to be, you don't want to be like getting the password and all that stuff, like credentials all the time. Doing it this way kind of gives you access to like all those accounts. But again, it takes a little bit more work because you gotta like set up a business login and all that stuff, right? So usually I just create the app and then I jump here to Meta Business Suite, and here is where I do the setup. And here the thing that we need to get is a token, basically, right? So we need to get a token, and with that token we can access Instagram. The thing is, like, if you do it this way, for example, if you create this token here, this token, where is it? This one, this access token kind of like expires like 60 days. So it's not really useful. So what I like doing it this way because I can get a permanent token, so I don't need to be, refreshing this stuff every time. So let's say you create this business account, right? So you go here and you select the business portfolio. All right. So you select the one that you need, and then you go to settings again. And then here, This is the same site that I saw you, that I told you you can access, you can edit Instagram accounts, WhatsApp accounts, and all that stuff, right? So you will go here to system users, and actually let me delete this so you can see how is everything created from scratch, because I was creating this. Yeah, well, I already have this is the system user, which is shorts. But if you don't have it, you just click here in add, and then you click, for example, video, YouTube videos, like that. And then what is the system role? Well, you just can select between two. I will select admin. I already have one, so that's why it's telling me that I cannot do that. But if you don't have any, you will get this. And once you have this admin, here you need to first assign assets. So in this case, I already have one, so that's why it's kind of telling me that I cannot access. But let me see if I can delete this. Yeah, let's see, remove that. Yeah, so if I refresh, for example, let me refresh this. So you see I don't have anything. So it will tell you like you gotta assign assets. So you go to apps and then you gotta select the app that you created, right? So you go here and you give it a full control and assign assets. And voila, you got it there. And then before we get a token, because we can get a token here, just go here to Instagram accounts and under your account, you click here and assign assets. And then you give it access to that system user that you created, okay? So in this case, it's called shorts. So you call it there, and then you give it here access, full control. You can think of this like a user, again, like if you were sharing, similar to a service account logic, right? So imagine you are giving access to an editor so it can post videos, edit videos on your Instagram account. The same thing. We created a system user who has access to everything, and now we are just sharing the access to that person. In this case, we call it shorts. And then we assign, right? Now we go back to system users, and then here we can create a token. So what you do is you create a token here, generate token, select what is the app, next. Again, this is the cool thing about doing it this way, that we can select how many days do you want this token, the expiration, 60 days or never, so we don't want it to expire. And voila, these are the permissions that we can select. So depending on what you're doing here, you can select the permissions. But I like selecting these two, and these two are because we need to see data from our Instagram, like metadata. And we could just literally go manually and check the data, like for example, Instagram IDs and stuff like that. Or we can just give it access to the API, and the API will check that for ourselves. I mean, not the API, like Codex will check that, which is cool. We also need Instagram basic, so we can see like, the basic metadata. And we need manage content, all right? So this is pretty much the one that we need to upload, edit, delete videos, okay? Yeah, I think that's it. I'm not sure if I need publish though. I kind of forgot. Let me see. I will just ask Codex just to make sure. I mean, otherwise you can always create this token multiple times, right? But let's see. I want to upload videos to Instagram through the API. Where scopes? 20. I don't think 20 publish. I'm not sure I need that one though. Manage contents. Actually, I might. Yo, my cat's like sleeping all the time. It's kind of crazy. All right, so let's see what it says. It's saying that, yeah, I need publish, and then it's gonna explain to me why. All right, so let's use publish here, and then continue. And voila, this is a token, so we're good to go with that token. So we can say like, okay, just test it out with one of the videos we created. Try uploading this one. This is the key. I'm not sure you need something else. It might, let's see. But with that, we kind of like, we're set up here to upload videos. So I think we can go to Instagram. So I will show you how it looks on Instagram. All right, so I was debugging this part for the video because I think it was kind of getting confused. Codex was getting confused with the way accessing, because it's kind of funny actually, you know, like Codex is pretty smart, but like sometimes you gotta guide him with these APIs because they're a little bit complex still. So he kind of gets confused. So he was trying to access the API through some stuff, and I told him like, I think you're getting it wrong because yeah, you know, I already share access to it, like this part here. I already did this, so he didn't get it. So what I did was just, you know, I just screenshot this part and I share it with him so he could see this ID, and with that ID he was able to access that, you see. And then he uploaded the video. So if we check the video, so this is the video that he uploaded. So you see 2 minutes ago, so it's fine. I just put it here that I don't see the video here, which is kind of weird. I don't see it here in the grid, and I think that's important for any of you guys. So he did it, but he kind of did it without this share to feed false. So he switched that. So let's see if it is actually now, but still no. Yeah, he's saying that if you want it to be visible in the grid, you gotta share that to true. You gotta set that to true. So I will do that in the next one. But for now, you can see here that it's actually working. So we can delete this so we don't save trash. Okay, so now we're good with that. So now we have the pieces, right? So we already have Google Drive and we already uploaded some videos. Now we can see that the API is working, right? So that's sweet. So now we can kind of put everything like Legos and start building this. Again, you don't need to do this manually, so I would just ask him, I would ask Codex, all right? So let's connect everything. I will add these credentials like the tokens. What else we had here? The tokens ID, the Instagram, the IG ID. I don't think we need anything else. Put them in an MB. And this EMP basically is just for security purposes, you know. So if you're like uploading stuff to GitHub or stuff like that, you put it there in git ignore here. I don't think I have a git ignore here. Oh yeah, no, I don't have it. But for example, if you add one like this, ignore, you can put here like emp, and that will ignore whatever if you're pushing this to GitHub or something. That will just for security purposes. And you tend to put in this emp like this. For example, you create it like this. You put here whatever you think is important, right? So say API keys, IDs, stuff like that, right? So let's do that with him. So, all right, so let's connect everything, add these credentials, tokens, AGIG, put them in an MV, and then now, okay, so so the idea, I think I don't know if I test, no, I need things like I cannot record. No, I can't because I'm using another microphone. But well, it's fine. So all right. So let's go and looking at the screenshots that say so the idea is that we get the videos from Google Drive and then we upload them to Instagram. So I need to create the files for this, but I want him to respect this. So create this but respect the rules here. So that's my agents MD. Use the service account. Actually, let's make this as a goal so it kind of does it correctly. Use the service account to interact with Drive, and then the IG API for AG. I'll set up a Google Scheduler to upload videos. I don't know, every minute, just test. But at the end, every minute. I mean, I will put it every minute, just every minute, so we can test that it's actually working. But I mean, I guess if you are setting up this for your account or something, you will, I don't know, you can set up this every 4 hours, every day to upload a video. And actually something that might be useful is that, let me see, so something that you might have here to do if you are automating this is that you need to have a naming convention here, okay? Right now it's pretty straightforward because we only have one. So it's just drive test 1, drive test 2, drive test 3, right? Pretty simple. But let's say you have like, I don't know, thousands of videos and you have multiple platforms, or you have multiple things here in Instagram. Maybe you want to post these certain videos in the morning and these certain videos in the afternoon or something. In that case, you gotta have some sort of naming convention. Maybe you can have folders, and you explain that to Codex. Okay, so Codex can generate like a little algorithm that is gonna be like, okay, if it is morning, use these videos. If it is afternoon, use these videos. Or if you're like using a different naming convention, maybe A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, Codex can do that, okay? In this case, pretty straightforward. Actually, I would just put it like just 1, just to make it simple. So that's my naming convention, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But like, again, you can have it as you wish. Just explain that to Codex so he can create that for you. You see there in my drive, it's 1, 2, 3. And yeah, I want to test this, but first I need to deploy that to Google Cloud, right? So the things like you can do it 2 ways. You can just ask Codex, okay, upload that to Google Cloud. He will literally run the commands for you. The issue is like I usually have this bash script that I told you about, this one. And this one is just basically kind of deleting everything first in my Docker and then uploading. And that's because I don't like having trash in my computer when it comes to like Docker images and stuff. And usually those images are like pretty large. So when you realize you have like a bunch of stuff, so that's why I usually go through this deploy first. So I kind of like, okay, make sure it deletes everything and then creates an image and then I put it there. But I mean, if you don't care about this, you could technically just go straight to you could go straight to upload this through Codex. But like I think, yeah, I mean for now, don't upload to Google Cloud. I think we could do that. And then while we wait, because it's gonna take a little bit, because we put it as a goal. And when you use goal, it's kind of like, make sure stuff's working. So while we wait, you see here that we have this. I have this. I always have this. And it's just like this is for accessing the Google account, right? So you see there are some commands. So for example, you can use this command in your terminal to know what is the project that is currently pointing to. Or you can use this one if you wanna change project. Let's say you wanna have, because again, like when you create this Google account, this part here, IG video, you can also connect that to your local, so you can push those files to Google account, right? Or you can have this command and it's gonna list all the projects. In this case, I only have IG, so it will only show me IG. And then this one is for like, for example, let's say you wanna switch accounts. That's the thing, like right now I have connected the one for the company, which is automationforgrowth.com. So if I wanted to connect to this one, which is YouTube, I will need to rebox and then log in again. And I mean, I might do that just to show you how it works. Yeah, and you can see here also, you can use this one to know what is the one that is actually active in the environment. And for this file, you only need to change two things. What is the project ID and the image, right? So the project ID is pretty much this IG video, and the image name is how you want it to be called, the Docker. And I think this part is important. Make sure you only uses dashes, not these underscores, because it won't work. But also, this will be the name of the backend, like the Docker image, and also how it will be called in Google Cloud. So you can just, make sure you kind of like call it something that is understandable for you. So I think I will just show you how it will work. I will log out from my. So basically, you see I got a rebox like that, and you will say that it will take me out. So I'm out, and now I will log in again. I will pop up this. Make sure when you do this, you are pointing in your Chrome to the account where you want to have this, right? So in this case, I already have opened this, so you see it's literally taking me directly to YouTube, this account here. You click on OK, allow, and that's it. If you run this command and it doesn't work because it says like you don't have a Google CLI or something, this Key Cloud CLI, just ask Coex to install it for you. Okay, he will download that for you. That's pretty much how you connect with Google Cloud. And then it's telling you that you see we are connected. So for example, if you want to see the projects that I have, you will see that I only have one. You see I only have one. This is IG and this is the project ID. So we can select the project. You can select, we want to point the local here to that so we can deploy. So you could do, let's say, in this case, it's pretty straightforward. We only have one project, but let's say you have multiple. So what you do is that you select this. You see what I'm doing here? So basically, I'm putting that command, and then I'm putting the project ID, like that. And you see we have gcloud config set, this is the project, and then we enter, and it's telling, okay, now it's pointing to that project. And if you want to make sure, you can use this command here, and it should return the project, right? So one way to know what is the project ID is you running this command, gcloud project list. Another way of doing it is that you go to Google Cloud, right? Console here, And if you go to the projects, you see here that we have the ID. So you could get it this way as well. Both ways work. Okay, so now we have the project ID. So let me put it here. So that's the project ID. Just make sure you have it here. And then we need the image name. In this case, I will rename it. I will put it like IG automation. I think that's clear. It's clear enough. Let's see what happened with codecs. It's still working. Yeah, something that it's saying here is that it's adding like a normalization. Yeah, you know, like that's also, I don't know if when you're doing it with your codecs, he will understand it. But I mean, sometimes he kind of gets confused. I will explain it if that happens to you. If it starts telling you like, we need to implement like Google storage or like ASW, S3, Amazon S3 or something, because we cannot use like videos on Google Drive directly to Instagram API. You tell him that implement a way of converting those videos to like like this, an MP4, so he can put them on Instagram. All right, so you can do that with Python. You see, he's explaining that we can do that with, let me see. Here he's telling you that we can add like an F. This is just like a library, all right? So some normalization that we can do that. And in that case, it will work, okay? But I don't know why sometimes he kind of tells you that you cannot do that and you gotta implement Google storage or something. So you tell him like, bro, just fucking figure out, use something so we can use Google Drive files. And he will implement something. In this case, implemented this, all right? Just for you, if that happens to you. And then it's telling me that everything is fine. Let me see what else. Yeah, I kind of created these, which I don't really need, but I mean, it's fine. Because for example, this endpoint is for previewing. This endpoint is we want to test, so only one dry run. So we can upload one video to just make sure it's working. And then this is the actual endpoint that is running the logic. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I actually don't think I need this too, though. Let me ask first what is preview for. Preview is for what? So you see here that I created these folders, and if you're wondering why, it's because, again, one of the rules in my, I don't like this readme though. Actually, he created it. Well, I mean, you know, like, you could have this preview in case you want to like test yourself what is the next one, and with this you can have some checks. We can have this one. Actually, I think all of them work, and I will I will leave them here because you could use them if you are implementing this like in a large scale, right? Like for example, you want to make sure that the one that you're posting is actually the one that you need to be post. So you could use this endpoint to preview the video and just, you know, like double check manually maybe. This one is in case you want to run manual tests and see if you're actually uploading videos. So technically it works. And this is the actual endpoint to post the next video you can see here. And I can also leave this readme. I usually tend to like delete all this trash and I just leave it like only with the logic that I need, right? So for example, in this case, if I were to be implementing this, I will pretty much only have this endpoint, this health, I will have it because I want to make sure that it's actually working the endpoint, the backend. I will delete these two, and probably I will just add another endpoint, just like a summary, like a log or something that it will email me potential errors, right? So it will be like, once it's running, we need to just give me like some sort of, I don't know, email, like send me an email every day this time with whatever errors happen in the automation, so I can check. I usually tend to do that just to like, track. But I mean, if you need that, you can ask him that, right? So you can ask him like, okay, create an endpoint for that email. The things like if you're implementing the email thing, then you need to get a refresh token for it, for a Gmail, so he can access Gmail, right? So that's one option. I'm not going to explain in this video because this video is not about Gmail, but if you were to be doing that, you will use refresh token. I have more videos here in my YouTube channel explaining the the Gmail automation, so you can kind of mix this one with that one and it will work. Or if you want to keep it simple, you can use this SendGrid, I think it's called. This SendGrid, and they have, it's pretty straightforward though. Once you log in here, it kind of gives you an API key, and with that you can send emails. You could use that too, and that will send you an email, all right? There's multiple ways of doing this. But yeah, so I don't want to diverge too much here. So, okay, so we are here, so it's working. Create these requirements is important so we can install the libraries. And I was saying, like, it created these multiple folders, so you can see here that each folder contains only the logic for that. So we can see that, for example, this folder is only about Drive, this folder is only about Instagram, and this one is the workflow. And you see that it tends to only stick to maximum 10 functions per file. And that's, again, one of the rules that I have. I don't like having like hundreds of fucking functions in my files, so that's why it's like that. But yeah, pretty sweet, it's working. So now you can do things, you can do multiple things here. So one, you can start testing locally and see if it works. But I mean, for me, the automation is not that big, so I think I will just go straight to deploying to Google Cloud and checking the logs in cloud, seeing if it is not working or something. All right, so so let's just go straight to it, right? So let's just deploy and then we check live if it's actually working or not. And because we have this endpoint, this one, technically we could, test it. But I mean, if you're like more conservative and you want to start testing locally and then you want to, once you have that, you can deploy, also works. If you are doing that, you gotta create the Docker first scene locally and then you test it from there. But again, I will just straight to the point here. So, so you can ask Codex to deploy this, but I will do it myself. So I will just, because it's pretty straightforward to deploy a Docker with this bash script. So if you don't have Docker, just go install Docker, or you can ask Codex to install Docker for you. So once you have Docker, you run the script. So this bash script only works if you are on Mac. If you don't have a Mac, you will need to use another language, which is not Bash. But I think there is a way to run Bash scripts on Windows. So just ask Codex. Codex will figure it out for you. But I mean, okay, so we have Bash here. So let's say Bash and then deploy, right? What's the name? Deploy, yeah, deploy. And you see here that it's kind of deploying, so we allow that, and it's just creating a bunch of stuff. So first is deleting containers. There are no containers already because I tend to have this clean, so that's why it's kind of like there's nothing to delete, continue. Then he is creating the Docker here. As you can see right now, is installing the stuff that we need in the Docker, which is where we have this Python, and then we kind of like moving the data inside. And then we also need Gonicorn. I don't know if he has Gonicorn here. Oh yeah. Just make sure that you have this Gonicorn. That's super important though. Like, I mean, in this case, Codex got it, right? So he saw that we needed Gonicorn, so he put it here in requirements. Sometimes he will miss it. And if that's the case, just make sure that you put Unicorn here. Okay, so it doesn't need to be with a version. Just put it like that in that case, and it will work. Because if you don't do this, there will be a mismatch with the cloud. Because locally it will work, but if you go to the cloud, it will tell you like there is an error with a port, and it's like super, like the log is super vague. It's like ambiguous. It doesn't tell you like what's the issue, and the issue tends to be that it's missing a port, it's missing a connection, right? So you need to create the Unicorn. You gotta start Unicorn here so it works in the cloud. That was something that kind of happens like 100 times to me before, and that's super important. Okay, so here is telling you that it doesn't have this API, and this API means that this active register API means that we can deploy Docker files through their terminal. So just go here to the link that they say, and you enable that. This one. So click enable. And again, you can see here that it's pretty much free. Oh. All right, so let's go back and let's run it again. I mean, technically you can do this with codecs, right? You can just run this with codecs. The codecs will literally figure that out and then automatically deploy that for you. But I tend to use it myself. I tend to, for when I'm running things with from like in terminal and stuff, I tend to have files like this, bash scripts. So I have a little bit more control, right? So for example, in this case, I'm not creating trash. I'm making sure that I always delete stuff and I only keep the minimum required. I don't want to have like my computer with a bunch of trash. But yeah, those are some things that you can be learning along the way. So let's wait. Okay, so now, first time that you do this, like if you're deploying something, the first time it will ask you to enable some other APIs. But this is just the first time that you run when you're running this. Second time, super straightforward, it won't ask for anything. And that's it. Right now it's deploying to Google Cloud. So if you get an error here, say with the port, that's when, this is what I mentioned, right? The Unicorn part. But in this case, everything went smooth. So you can see here that it returned this URL. So if we open that URL, it will say nothing, but we can add the health endpoint, and you see healthy. So that's pretty smooth. That is telling us that it's working. So what we can do now is like we can ask codecs. All right, so it's deploy, set up the scheduler to upload videos every minute. And then we should be able to see 3 videos, 1 video every minute, right? So let me see. Actually, I don't. Because right now it's working. I mean, you could also start testing. As I mentioned, you could say like, okay, run this with like a one-off with this endpoint here. Where is it? This one? No, where? This right off, and see if the video is uploaded. If it is, you could go that way and check, then preview as well. But in this case, for me, this is like, I don't see why would I need to do that. I would just, I mean, usually when the automation is like small, I just literally implement it and I start debugging in the cloud when it's like small, right? Like this one. But I mean, if it is too big, that's when I start doing like step by steps. But in this case, for example, it's telling you like, okay, the API is disabled, the scheduler, but he will enable it, right? See, so it's pretty cool. And that's the cool thing about doing this that I explained here, like this login from your local, because if you do that, you see, he pretty much has access to everything. So he will start doing that. So that's pretty sweet. You see, now it's enabled. Beautiful. So let's see, actually, let's just, let's wait and see if it's actually working. So right now, we don't have anything. So we should wait 1 minute. But I remember, like, we couldn't see in the grid because it was telling us that it needed to be with something here. Let me see. Set up. Just make sure that he got it right so we can see it here in the grid. Actually, let me see what he put it there in. Yeah, so you see here we have the Google Drive folder and we have the access token for Instagram. Oh yeah, it's true. So that's fine. And this is the caption. And that's also important, you know, like in case you also need to automate the way it creates titles, the way it creates descriptions for your videos, for your shorts. You could also extend this to use like a AI layer somehow, right? So for example, you could use a video, send it to like ChatGPT or something, and then kind of creates the title, the description, and use that. In this case, I'm hard coding this because that's not the video is not about AI, but you get the idea, right? So you can literally start building on top of this. So let's see, I think our meeting already happened. Or not. Well, we can test, right? So we can, that's why I'm saying like now we deploy, now we can check the cloud and see if it is working or not. So that's something that you can do. Also, something that you can do in case you want to test this manually is that if you go to Google Cloud, you can search here for scheduler, this one, and you see it has it scheduled the stuff. So for actually it hasn't run, so maybe that's why it hasn't run. But like it says like when was the last run? Hasn't run. That's what I'm saying. Next run is gonna be in 1 minute. I mean, right now it's running. So let's see, actually. We need to refresh. Hasn't run yet. I think it's telling me the same. Yeah, he says that it's running. Once he finished, it should say, okay, last run, but it failed. Huh, that's important. So you see, now we can start debugging this and see what's the issue. But did it really fail? Yeah, it failed. Yeah, it failed. That's that. Okay, so it's telling that Gonicorn killed the worker, and that's because the default timeout usually for Gonicorn is 30 seconds, but it is taking more than 30 seconds to like do this whole process. So is changing that. So if we check, I think what he's doing is here in Docker file, he's changing that to timeout. So you see the timeout now is 300 seconds, that's longer. And he's using 2 workers. Workers mean how many threads, like how many, let's say you only have 1 worker. So you only can call this endpoint once. If you call it at the same time, one more time, it will throw an error. In this case, we have 2 workers, so we can call it twice at the same time. And this is cool if you're like, for example, let's say you are creating this automation and you are running multiple things at once. Well, bear that in mind, okay? So if you're running multiple things, if you're calling the endpoint at once multiple times, depending on how many times, set up the workers here, okay? But in this case, that's working. So let's, I'm telling like, okay, if you are deploying, use my bash script. I don't want you to be, because you see right now, he was like deploying by like using commands, but that's the thing that, you know, starts already create another image here and it just trash. So if he runs my deploy, but I think he kinda, yeah, but don't edit my bash. Yeah, that's the thing, you know, like also that's codex every time that sees my bash scripts, it always edits the bash scripts because he thinks that like it's too destructive. And it kind of makes sense, right? Like if you are running multiple things in Docker and you have a bash script like this one, it will delete everything in your Docker. And then that's really bad, right? Because maybe you have multiple things here, it will literally delete everything and then push to the cloud. So I don't think I will share this Docker with you guys, but you get the idea. I mean, this bash script, I mean, if you want the Docker, if you want the bash script, just let me know in the comments and I will share it with you. But just be aware of what you're running, which is pretty much we're deleting all the containers before running this one. And this is just for me to not have trash, but if you don't want this, just tell codex to deploy and then clean. Let's see. All right, so now it tested with 1. You can see here that it ran for 1, then we waited 1 minute, then ran the next one. You can see here that it's actually working. And I will just asking him like, how do you know, how are you avoiding duplicates? Because, you know, that might be a question that you might have, like, okay, so how is this app handling that? And you can see here that we are adding something to the properties in Drive. So, you know, if it is uploaded, we kind of like mark it as already uploaded. So next time this is skipped. So you can see here how it is doing in case you were wondering how. In case you wanna, again, maybe if you are like, if you have like thousands of videos or maybe the automation is a little bit more complicated, in that case you might need a database for this. straightforward. You can use any database out there. You can ask Codex to implement it for you. And pretty much the logic will be the same, right? So in case, instead of using like a flag within Drive, you will use a flag somewhere in a database. And before uploading the video, it will check the database. Okay, we already uploaded this video. Yes, no. If yes, we skip. If not, we upload the video. But yeah, guys, you see it's working. So let me see. So uploaded the three videos that we had there. And that's the logic, right? So if we check, yeah, so 3 minutes ago, 2 minutes ago, 1 minute ago. So it is working. So you can see here, I was checking this 1 minute ago, 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. And then if you want to check the scheduler, you see that status of the execution success, okay? And then you can see here when will be the next run and stuff. If you wanted to check the logs yourself, you can just click here. My bad. You go back, you select the thing, and then you can actually where here here you can see here view logs, and then you can see here if it is throwing errors or not. Okay, but technically I mean usually what I do is I just ask Codex, okay, check the logs yourself so you can understand those logs and then tell me what the issue is. So that's it for this video, guys. So I will put this code in a folder in the description so you can go there and download it for free. It's cool. So if you have questions, just put it down below in the comments and I will explain. I will reply to them as soon as I see them. And if any of you needs we need some help with this, happy to help. Just book a call. In the first comment, there's my website, so you can just book a call and we can go through your project and see if I can help. And that's it, guys. Hopefully this was helpful. I see you in the next one.